Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is Thursday, April 13th, 2023. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. And to anyone who is streaming on any other channel, welcome. And I do hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Frankie. In Minnesota, welcome. Hey, hey, hey. Welcome, welcome, welcome in. Okay, everyone. So welcome. Today I am going to talk about redboning, and first I'm going to put the definition up. What a red bone is considered to be, and I'll put it over here on this platform first. And then I will put it on this platform. All right, so you guys can see what the definition of red bone is. And it is a female or male of African American descent who is light skinned with red undertones. So basically, light skinned Black people. And it can also be used as a slur. But unfortunately, in this country, we have red boning that is going on in America's classrooms. And that's what I want to talk about today. So there have been some stories that have come out lately that have happened in classrooms across America, and one in California specifically, and one specifically that happened in Georgia. But welcome, Planner Kate. I'm just so sick and tired of a lot of the things that have been, going on lately. And I'm just going to come out and I'm just going to say it. Fair use, welcome. I'm just going to come out and say it because this is the topic that I chose. And in this country, we have people who are in an uproar in terms of what is being taught in the classroom. In terms of, oh my God, don't say the word slavery. My child is going to get upset. Don't talk about certain things. Don't talk about civil rights. Don't talk about lynchings. Don't talk about this because my child is sensitive. Welcome, Power Girl. But at the same time, you have things that are going on in this classroom that is just utterly disgusting and ridiculous, and it's happening against children of color. And this has been going on for years. It happened to me when I was in the classroom so many years ago. Blunt Ninja, welcome. These things have been going on, and no one seems to care when the shoe is on one foot. But then when the shoe may be on the other foot, all of a sudden people care. And for me personally, I'm sick and tired of it. One thing that I'm proud of is the fact that I am an activist. I take it very seriously. I've been an activist since I was little, literally. When you look back at what an activist is. I was that kid who stood up in the classroom, always telling the teacher, this isn't right, that's not fair. I was always sticking up for other kids who, if they were accused or, or something was done wrong to them. And I have no problem doing that. But you can't, fair use, I'll let you up in a moment. But you can't have it both ways. And I'm going to play a video. On Podbean, you'll be able to listen to it, but on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. I am on two channels. I am on the My Turn to Talk on YouTube, and I am also streaming over onto the Freedom Boycott. So give me a moment here, and I will pull this up. Okay, and hopefully you guys on Podbean will be.
Student who got the video requested to be pulled out of the classroom. She was pulled out Friday. The teacher's still teaching today. Let's just show you what happened. You're watching a cell phone video taken by a student at Sequoia Middle School in Fontana during an 8th grade English class. We're keeping her identity and that of other students in the class anonymous.
We were all sitting in the class. The class was pretty quiet. We were just doing independent work, and a student asked the teacher how to spell a word.
She's talking about the N-word as used in Mark Twain's novel, Huckleberry Finn. They were studying it in the class. It seems the student asked how to spell the N-word, and the answer, well, you see the cell phone video.
You didn't even say it. Why? You asked me how to spell it, so go ahead and pronounce it.
She just starts screaming it at the student, trying to force him to say it. He was getting uncomfortable. He was shaking his head. He started to put his head down.
Why? You asked me how to spell it, so go ahead and pronounce it. Pronounce it after me.
Other students in the class saying.
And after saying how everyone in the class was uncomfortable, she continued to say it.
Now, did she continue to say it because she was trying to make him spell it out, or did she continue to say it because she didn't think it was a big deal?
I think she was trying to prove a point.
She said that it's an English word, something about it's in the dictionary, and that she can say it if she wants to.
The student who took the video has been pulled out from the class after her mom complained to the school. But other students say the discussion continued even today.
And today she even said that she doesn't care what the mom thinks, that she's her own person, she could do whatever she wants.
She said that today?
Yes, today in class. And
What do you think?
it's not a right thing to say.
This is wrong. It's just wrong. It's disgusting. It's really sad that she's an adult. She should know better.
The district sending out a statement reading in part, while we acknowledge that this derogatory language comes from a novel first published in the late 1800s and that historical context is important to consider when discussing literature, the district does not condone the language that was used in the video or using that language outside of the context of discussing the novel. We're putting the entire statement on our website at foxla.com. I'm Christina Gonzalez in Fontana. Back to you in the studio.
Okay, so I apologize that over on Podbean you were not able to hear it. That's why I said I was streaming on various platforms. Basically, what it was for people on Podbean is it is a video of a teacher. The video was taken by a student in Fontana, California, where they were talking about Mark Twain. And anyone who has read Mark Twain, the N word is used many, many times throughout the book. Well, this particular student wanted to know how is it spelled. David, welcome. This particular student wanted to know how it was spelled. And the teacher, while she was smirking, she spelled it and she repeatedly told the student to say it. And the student was uncomfortable. He didn't want to say it. And the teacher kept saying, say it, say it, say it. Now, the teacher was not removed from the classroom. The teacher was allowed to come back to the classroom, and she said that she didn't give a damn what the parents or students thought. She was going to teach her class however she wanted. Now, I personally, I personally have a problem with that. You want to take out Maya Angelou or, when you talk about Rosa Parks in Florida, they had to take out the fact that Rosa Parks was a Black woman. Now, you take out the fact that Rosa Parks is a Black woman and you just say, literally, this is what these textbooks in Florida are saying, because I have been keeping up with these textbooks. Rosa Parks was a woman. She refused to give up her seat. She was arrested. That's what they're learning about Rosa Parks. Why did Rosa Parks not give up her seat? Why was she arrested? Why was she asked to give up her seat? But yet a white student can go into a college, sit in a classroom on African American studies and get upset because of what is being discussed about civil rights, complains, and the class gets canceled. I'm not understanding this. I'm truly not understanding this. I'm not understanding how stuff like this is allowed to happen in 2023. And Fairview says, I saw they banned a book about Hank Aaron and another about Roberto Clemente. Didn't the Nazis ban books? Exactly. The Nazis banned books and they burned books. I'm all for freedom of speech. I'm all for people being able to get up and say whatever the hell they want, even if it's something that I disagree with. But when you start misinterpreting history because you feel uncomfortable, because you don't like what history has said, what does that say about you? What does that say about you? And I am sick and tired of it. I am tired of it. You know, I say things on some of my other platforms that people don't like. I don't care. I don't care. You don't like what I say, don't listen to me. But I am going to stand by what I say. This country is so rooted. The DNA of this country is so rooted in racism that disgusting and deplorable are words that do not take what this country has done to its citizens far enough. If you don't want your kid to learn about history, certain things in history, pull them out of the classroom. Because see, what's happening now is history is not being taught the correct way. Not for people of color. And I'm not just talking about Black people. I'm talking about Latino. I'm talking about Asian. It's not being taught correctly. It's being taught the white version, which is the whitewash version of America. And that's why it's important. That's why I have said on shows previously that talking to your ancestors, talking to your grandmother, and Lord willing, your great grandmother before they pass away, that great aunt you have, that cousin that you have, who has history of your family, sit down at that kitchen table and listen. Don't just say, oh, I don't want to hear this again. Those are things that need to be passed down. Because then stuff happens that's happening in Florida. And then things get blurred. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. You have a child, you know, in a Southern school, only person of color in her history class. The kid is like 11 years old, and they're talking about slavery. And the white teacher pulls her up and says, I could have been your master. You would have been my slave. I would have had you do whatever I wanted you to do. She's saying that to an 11-year-old child. But if that was a Black teacher saying it to a white student, that teacher would have been fired. I'm telling y'all, I am maxed out. I am sick and I am tired of it. I am sick and tired of it. When my son, before he was homeschooled, when he was in a brick and mortar school, something, you know, he was one of a few. And something that his, David, I'll invite you up in a moment. Something that his teacher said to him. And he comes home from school and he's crying because other kids started calling him the N word. My son was in 3rd grade. I knew it was going to happen to him. I knew that eventually that was going to happen to him. I just didn't think it was going to happen so soon. So yeah, me, the mama, had to go up to school and not only set the teacher straight, but I got into those kids' faces. Yes, I did. Then the parents come back. Oh, well, maybe your child shouldn't be so sensitive. Really? Screw you. But now your kids are the sensitive ones. Now, things cannot be taught in school because your kids are the sensitive ones. Screw your kids. Because basically, you said screw you to mine. It just does not make sense to me. This is, again, 2023, and we're still talking about this. I was on a podcast about a month ago where one of the guest hosts, they were going on and on. They said, yeah, they're complaining about stuff that happened 500 years ago. And, that just stuck with me because it just pisses me off. If you don't want us to talk about stuff that happened 500 years ago, stop doing stuff that happened 500 years ago. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. Man running around Atlanta complaining about Redbone. After we're through with her, we'll just throw her out the window. I'm sick of it. Fair Use says, wasn't something similar done in the earlier part of the century with that lost cause? Well, BS. You would think. Guys, I have been called many, many things. I have been called many, many things by many, many people my entire life. The things, nowadays, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, what else? What else you got? Is that all you got? What else? But I'm going to keep standing on that hill if I have to by myself. I will be that person in the room of 100 people that will be the only one who raises their hand when a question is asked, because everybody else is looking around to see, should I raise my hand? Should I not? I will be that person. I will be that person who will either stand up or stand down by myself. But what's going on in this country today is sickening. And what's happening to children of color, especially now in the classrooms, and when I say children, I just don't mean grammar school and high school. I'm even talking about college students. Their history is being erased and raped from them. But let me tell you a little bit about history. If it weren't for Black people in this country, and you all can agree with me or disagree with me, either way, this country would not be the country that it is. See, because during slavery time, we were the cash crop. All that generational money that came from your great grandfather came off the backs of my ancestors. For the North and the South. The North wasn't that great. You look at Republicans, Democrats, they're all the same. Nothing's changed. The party of Lincoln is still the party of Lincoln, of Lincoln. They're just wearing a different face. If it weren't for those sharecroppers down south after slavery, you still wouldn't have had anything. When people say, why don't you go back to Africa? Okay, we'll go. We'll take all our money with us. Black people account for, in terms of the economy, more than any other group in this country. well over $1 trillion plus a year. A year. And that's why I have called for a nationwide economic black boycott, aka the Freedom Train boycott, to boycott all 50 states, for black people to stop spending money. Stop spending money in places that do not respect you. And there's a lot of them. Start, recreate those Black Wall Streets that we had. When money exchanged hands in a Black neighborhood 38 times before it left. We had hundreds of Black Wall Streets. But you know what happened? The people on the other side of the tracks got jealous, got mad, so they burned it down. They burned it down after they went in and stole and raped and pillaged and killed. That 40 acres and a mule, it was never supposed to be the mule. But the 40 acres, yeah, we got our 40 acres. But there was a clause that we had to work that land first for a period of time. And we worked that land. You know what happened? The government turned around and gave it to soldiers coming back from World War I, white soldiers. You want us to go back to Africa? Oh, okay. These black athletes out there, who I say shame on you. You're making all these companies rich because it has been known that when you have a Black person behind a product, it will sell a lot faster. This is a fact. But let's not forget about our Native American brothers. Let's not forget about our Latino American brothers and sisters who have also been screwed over by a country that does not appreciate them either. And I'm going to talk about the Asians. The people who built the railroads in this country, one of the Rockefellers. Asian labor was the main backbone of the railroads in this country. But they got treated like crap. Native Americans in this country who really treasured this country, who took care of this country, who appreciated this country. And this is where we are. And people can say, Salad, well, you're so upset then, why don't you leave? Yeah, I could. But I look back at my ancestors and what they've done, what my mother and father went through, just so my sister and I could have a good life. Screw you. One thing that I like to do, because it's a relaxing thing for me, I like to go to the zoo. And I like going by myself. And when my son was little, my husband and I, we used to take him and everything. But, as he got older, he didn't want to do the zoo anymore. But I always liked it. And I go and I look at these animals behind these cages who are caught for the amusement of man. And then when you look at the buffalo, and they're usually scrawny, and they look beaten down. But when you think that this country, especially in the Southwest, had millions of buffalo that roam, and when Native Americans killed buffalo, they didn't kill it just for their hide and leave the rest of their carcass rotting in the sun. They used every part of that buffalo, every part. But then a certain group come along and they have that G word there called greed. And just boom, 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 pow, 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 pow. And within 10 years' time, the buffalo are pretty much gone. You know, I look around my city, my city is a city of 70,000. We incorporated in 2010, still a young city. And we have a problem with coyotes that, depending upon where you live in the city, coyotes will come across your fence. You cannot leave your pets outside. You definitely can't have them outside at night. If you are out there, if your pets are out there, you pretty much have to be out there with them. When I walk my dogs, you know, I used to walk my dogs at a certain time at night. I can't do that anymore because the coyotes are out. And people are complaining about the coyotes. I'm not one of them, because we are building on their habitat. We're building where they live. So now, where they used to be able to go out and, you know, catch birds and mice or whatever, all that's gone because your house is there. My house is there. And you look around and you're like, how many shopping malls do we have? How many, and when you look around this country, my city, which is a city, like I said, of 70,000, and it's not that big. You can, you know, I can walk from one end of the city to the other, just walking my dog. But we have 7 Starbucks, 7. And all of them are always crowded. You know, so again, when you look at the history of this country, Ellie, welcome. When you look at the history of this country and what we have done, but now we're trying to recreate history for our own purpose, for how we want to see history or how they want to see it. That means that they could possibly, if you're a person of color, not talk about something good that your ancestor did if it makes them look bad. And I'm just saying, I'm just sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of the I'm sick and tired of the okay, fair use, no problem. I'm sick and tired of the hypocrisy. We can go out and shoot children in classrooms and movie theaters and you know, concerts. But we won't do anything about it. But yet, you can't read this book in class, but you can read this book in class. And a teacher can stand over a child and pretty much harass him to say the N word because the child wanted to know, how are you spelling it? And whether you're spelling it with an A or an ER, it's a disgusting word to me. So, yeah, Juju, unbelievable. And David says, please don't say Native American to us. That's a white term. Okay, I stand corrected. It is what in indigenous. Is that the word? But I'm definitely not going to say Indian. Ellie, welcome.
Hi, Sonnet Below Sister, and hi everyone here. Sorry, I don't know too much about Americans' history.
Okay, did you want to add anything else or?
Oh, that's it. I just want to
Okay,
listen that maybe
okay.
I should leave up my opinion.
No, okay, no, I'm sorry. I thought there was more to the sentence. Okay,
Oh, it's fine. Hi, David.
okay, not a problem. David, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So I take it the conversation is about this new ruling that's supposed to be going down in Texas.
Well, just Texas and everywhere. And I started off with the video, which I apologize. People on Podbean couldn't hear it, but it is over on YouTube with the teacher from Fontana, California. What she was making the student do, basically making him say the N word and then repeatedly say it, and he was uncomfortable and didn't like it, and and the teacher is still working there. So, but I'm just talking about just me, period, just being fed up with what's going on in this country.
Yeah, I can see that. Um, I mean, his kind of a double-edged sword. When you say history, then 9 times out of 10, the descendants of history don't like the history themselves. So, but the only way to correct that not is to not repeat it. Is you have to teach the evils of history, and that's not what's happening. For that, you're going to have to open up a lot of things that probably most people are not going to want to open up. Because when you talk about conquest, when you're talking about a conqueror, then the first thing is you have to bring all aspects into that conversation. And the one thing that people are never going to admit is that religion has played a very big part. Because remember in 1054, I think it was when the Catholic Church split and it became the Eastern and Western Church. One was um, the Protestants, and the other was Catholic. And the Eastern and Western Church. And then again, when Martin Luther split it again, then it became something else. So you're going to have to admit a lot of things, and no one wants to admit that what they read in a Bible or the Quran is wrong. But that was a major part of what led to the conversation what you're having now. And my father used to say that any book that can justify an evil and justify a good, something is wrong with the book.
But you also have to say that something's also wrong with the people. You have to say that something is wrong with the people. And I do agree with you that religion has played a lot. But now we're at a point in history, because as we all every day we live, we are going through a period. And when our children, when you're taking stuff out of a school because you don't want a certain group of people to feel uncomfortable, or just because you don't like it, you're not doing that other group of people service. So that's why I say, in terms of Americans, now what they people do in other countries, I don't know. But in terms of America, I think the history should be an elective, because I don't want my child going to school learning something that's not true, than having to take a test in order to pass something that's not true. I prefer them to either to get an F and fail that test, or pull them out of that class. Because you cannot say, I don't want to teach this because my kid is not going to feel right. But yet you're doing things in the classroom that's not making my child feel right. And the thing is with this country, with this world, with this entire world, and people may not like what I am going to say, but it's true. There is a certain group of people that have screwed over other groups of people going back to the beginning of time. It's history. It happened. But just because you don't like it or you feel uncomfortable, then the rest of us are not supposed to talk about it. The rest of us are not supposed to learn. So, David, I'm going to come back to you, but Rose has been waiting.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to ask, why was the teacher doing that? Was it a white teacher over a black child? I don't know what was going on.
Yes, it was a white teacher over a black child. And another video that I'm going to play, and I'm sorry that you guys.
Why though? Well, what was she trying to teach? What was
they were talking
incident?
about the book. They were talking about the book Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And if you're familiar with that book, they use the N-word many times in that book. And the student wanted to know, how are you spelling it? And the teacher came over here and said, well, I told him how she's spelling it. And she said, now say it, and kept trying to get him to say it over and over and over. And the student refused to say it. And the teacher was literally in his face. And another student was taping this. And this teacher was allowed to go back into the classroom.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, this has become what I call a word that has been, I don't know how to explain it, but it's been sort of misused and abused in such a way now that, you know, it's just bad. I mean, I don't get, and I will say one thing, that if you have to go back to history, you would say that it was their own people that ordered slaves onto those boats for basically sugar or whatever they wanted, coffee. So they were doing it to their own people at first. Now you can say then English, or I mean, as well as basically America were doing it in the South as slaves. So yeah. But then how far do you want to go back? Do you want to teach all the history? Well, do you forget about the first part where they were even trading, their own country was trading themselves as slaves to countries like America and England? Or do you miss that part out and just say, oh, it's terrible about slaves?
Okay, and Linda, I will say this. When Africans were trading each other, the majority of them that were trading each other were in times of war, where they had prisoners of war. They were just not outright saying, here, selling people to other countries, whatever. It was like, these are prisoners, whatever. And they did it in other war times. Throughout war, they've always had prisoners of war being changed. But
they were still doing it to their own people.
Wait, hold on.
Carry on, though.
But you're making a good point. It is history. Everything should be taught, including what you just said. Even if it makes other people feel uncomfortable, it should still be taught. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. We cannot cherry pick what we want to teach just because we don't like it. I don't like the fact that Africans sold each other, but you know what? They did do it. They did it. So why not talk about it? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I was just going. That was what I was trying to say.
Yes. but I do want to point out something that Fair you said. I'm gonna put you on mute for a moment. He says, where did we go back? He says, how do Germans teach history from, let's say, 1900 to 1950? Okay, so Germany, they got it right. Germany has gone back and they have redone their history books, and they actually talk about the Holocaust and Germany and the things that were right and wrong, whatever. They got it right. They went back and they said, this, we are going to acknowledge this. We are going to talk about the stuff that we did that was just as bad as the stuff that everybody else did. And I'm just saying, how come America can't do the same thing? So I just thank you, Katie. Katie says she agrees with me over on YouTube. So I'm just guys. I know after this show is published, I'm going to hear some shit. I know I am because my Gmail is usually, I get stuff in my Gmail that you guys would just, I just shake my head. But I want to put it out there. I want people to, I'm not one to sugarcoat things. I'm not. People want to call me out, call me out. But I'm calling this out because I do not like the way America in 2023, the road we are going down. David, you want to say something else?
Now both of you on that bit of commentary has got some very valid points. But also remember when you say the Americans, now the Germans have admitted that this historical wrong that they have done, but the Americans will never admit it for the simple fact that any nation that is built on genocide and blood has to end with genocide and blood too. Because look at the length of how long the country had been in existence. When we're talking from the Revolutionary War up until now, nothing has ever really changed. Now, in order to enact that change, I have always said, and I understand about the emails because I've gotten death threats about, well, especially about MCR. But the thing about it is a people has to rise within themselves first. Now, you can get mad at how others are treating you, but how are you treating each other? First, let's fix our own house, and then we can go about establishing something. I am very much um, not agreeing when I hear people say black people because that don't connect you to a culture. It doesn't connect you to anything in law, and it doesn't connect you to anything as far as tradition. Because you can say the Africans, the original Africans, they're black. Okay, well, so is the Trinidadians, so is the Jamaicans, and if you really want to say it, so is the Polynesians. But the thing that separates them is a culture. Now, remember when, oh, I think it was Obama was in office, and they kind of carried through when Trump was in office, when all of these merchants was disrespecting customers and all the rest of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a simple solution to this. Take your money elsewhere.
That's what I say.
But instead, what did they do? They jumped on YouTube, made videos and crying and all the rest of this stuff. The hell with that. Take your money elsewhere. But but for some strange reason, people of color or people of African descent want to belong. And if you want to belong bad enough, you'll accept any kind of treatment. The one thing that I came across doing my radio program was this: they'll say it in a heartbeat. My forefathers died for this. No, your forefathers didn't die for this. They died trying to get away from this. But ever since the civil rights movement, when it was better to go to school over here with the white people, well, they should have looked back in our history and said, "But wait a minute, we were forced to go to school with them. We were forced to learn Christianity. We were forced to change our names and cut our hair and get rid of all of the symbology and stuff like that." as a concept of conditioning. Well, it's the same thing with the African slaves that they brought over. It was a concept of conditioning. Now, just recently on my podcast, I talked about breeding farms. Now, how low down can you get when you open up a breeding farm? And it doesn't really matter. As long as this woman gets pregnant, it doesn't matter if she's your mother, your sister, your aunt, or the neighbor's kid down the street. But this is what white folks wanted because guess what? Now the slave market is dwindling and they still have all of this cotton to pick and all the rest of this stuff. So now here comes the even more inhumane treatment because as long as you purchase something, you're going to have to kind of take care of it just a little bit. It might not be good, but you're going to have to take care of it because you have an economic value. But now you having a baby by your son, that's the most disgusting, inhumane thing you can ever think of. But now not one white person will jump up and say, we did that. That ain't going to happen
No,
because for number one, they want to be seen as something good.
but this is okay,
Where the
and this is and David, this is what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna interrupt you for one moment because I want to read what
Go ahead.
Angel is saying over on YouTube. She says you are very ignorant about our history. I don't think she's talking about you. You really need to pick up a book on slavery. Our trade was during wartime. That's what I said, that we traded during wartime, not like you colonizers who stole our people and used our bodies for their own.
Well, she's absolutely right, but also you got to remember they're not ignorant of it either. That's why you keep running into the same thing. A friend of mine was telling me, so well, what do you think now? Are these some new white folks? Nope, because each one of them had a grandfather that told them certain things. Each one of them had a father and a mother that told them certain things, and it all remains the same. So she's absolutely right. They are ignorant of history, but not of their history, not of people of color's history, because you got to remember they rewrote some of it.
They
And
rewrote
what you were
some
saying
of it,
about a
but if
history
you
class is true.
if you are someone who still, you look at stereotypes, and I mean, because I know people who they will stereotype. I mean, and most stereotypes came from white people. Most white people were
Of
the ones
course.
that, so, and you are also right when you said that, we need to fix our own house. But you look at why
Hmm.
our house is so broken. I mean, seriously, you look at why our house is so broken. And again, you have to go back in history. You have to go back those 500 years. You look at, the indigenous people, I will correct myself. When you look
Hmm.
at them and, it's like even today, they're still living on reservations. It's appalling to me. Why are they there? That is one group of people who absolutely should not be where they are in the condition that they are in. But why are they there? How did they get there? So,
Well,
David, okay, I want to go to Rose because I want, okay, go on,
no, no,
David, and
no.
then
Go
let me
ahead.
go
Go
to
ahead.
Rose.
Go ahead.
Okay, Rose,
No,
go
no,
ahead.
no. Go ahead and go to Rose.
Okay.
Do basically do many of them know the history of the indigenous people? No, they don't know what happened when they. So just as much as they don't know about what happened with the black people, whatever you want to call them, I don't know. Anyway, I call them coloured, but sort of, do they know about that? And aren't we sort of have to move on at some point? This is where I keep coming back to. Things have to move on. You can keep going back. History is a good thing, but there's got to be progress with history. You can't just
But
get
Rose,
stuck in
if
the
the
same
progress
thing.
is not happening, if we have to keep talking about it, if you're not going to move forward, if things continue to happen, that doesn't allow us to move forward. When you have that teacher who is saying a derogatory thing to a student, or you have your neighbor who is saying this to this neighbor or whatever, how are you going to move on? How are you going to move on? It's just not going to happen.
Yes, but that's instances, isn't it? You know, you can then say, but how do you pick on all the instances, or do you look further afield? Do you look now how many people we've got into politics? We've got a load of dark people, Indian people, Pakistan. People can get on if they want in this world now. I know there's ignorant people that still say about coloured or negative. You know what I mean? They will say it, but that, you know, you have to go from that and just say they're ignorant people who should know better but don't. And you know, because we are sick as white people having to take this all the time from generations. If it's our fault, it's our fault that
Okay,
it's
okay,
got
so
on
okay,
years
so
and years and years ago. It's not. Why should we carry it when we're trying not to carry it? I had this argument with somebody who
so
was
okay,
agreeing with me.
so Rose, let me ask this, and Planner, I am coming to you. So Rose, let me ask this. So you're saying, why should white people have to carry it? Then should black people or Latinos or Asians, should they have to carry it also? Should they have to be constantly told, you people are always doing this, or you people are this, and you people are this? I mean, should we have to carry the burden of stereotypes?
No, you don't have to carry it, but you don't have to keep going on it. Nobody should have to carry it, but you can't say, well, you can't carry it, so the white people have to carry it.
But do white
You
people
know,
really
you should
carry
both
it,
be carrying. You
considering
know,
how much?
it's got to be. You've got to move on. There's
Okay,
all this
okay.
black racism. You've got to move on. As far as I'm concerned, you've got to move on.
I'm going to come back to that, but I want Planner to have a chance. So Planner, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, good.
welcome.
Yes, thank you for inviting me up. The moving on part I disagree with, because in how it was phrased. The only moving on that I subscribe to is being an active person to work to either try to abolish or undo the mess that's been created, because it's definitely here. The mess is definitely clear. I see it in every aspect of my life. I'm a white person, and once I started paying attention, I definitely saw it in my local government, in my neighborhood, in lending policies with the financial institutions, with how the schools are funded, with how people speak. It is absolutely pervasive. So I do not believe that just moving on is an answer. And the only way that any of this will be fixed is if white people do take this on and say it was absolutely wrong. How it exists today is absolutely wrong. And we are going to undo all of that. It's not the job of people who are Black, Brown, First Nations people, Asian people. It's not their job to undo it or to just get over the fact of all of this trauma that occurs to them daily and in the past. And there's so much information about this out there that could be really helpful for people to understand this. Just even looking up a video by Dr. Joy Degree about basically medical racism over time and how it is built into the system and built into how people are treated in medicine. So I don't agree with your other caller about that. And um, I don't, I feel sadness for what my ancestors did. And, you know, I could say, oh, well, you know, my family came to America after slavery. Well, they're still my ancestors, right? My family comes out of England and Ireland and Scotland, and England was the worst, right? They were basically colonizing and pillaging and raping all across the world, right? So yeah, it is part of my background, and it was wrong, and my job is to undo it. And I think that's all of our jobs, to undo it, because the whole idea of just lift yourself up by your bootstraps and you have every opportunity that I do, that is not correct. That's not correct at all. It doesn't work that way. We all need help, and we need to undo the things that are barriers to other people.
Okay. Rose, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to that, but first I want to read some of the comments over on Podbean. Fair Use says there was a lot of I'm just going to read it since I've been cursing today. I'm going to say it too. There was a lot of fucked up shit done. Yep, it's a tough one to bear. Grit says we need to know what happened in history so it doesn't get repeated. And Fair Use says history is not meant for you to get caught up in your feelings. It's to be educated and to make better educated choices in the future. I totally agree with that. And Grit says we can never understand do history. Okay, we can never undo history, but we can determine how we go forward. So, David, I am going to come to you, but I want to give Rose a chance to respond to Planner.
Well, I totally disagree with her. I'll tell you that. And how long did she want racism to go on? And basically, I don't agree with what my ancestors did or what they did. I'm not my ancestors. I'm me. I'm of this generation. I've got black friends, you know, and I treat them with respect. I treat them with everything. I'm sorry to say, you can't keep pulling ancestors up. So she's wrong. And I will stand by what I say. So if we all have to sort of keep going by what our ancestors did, it's never going to stop. How long are we going to go on with this racism, Black Lives Matter, and forever? No, sorry, it's got to stop. So she can carry on with her, whatever she wants to call it, but I'm not, and I will call it out over and over again.
David? David?
I'm here.
No, do
Can
you
you hear
want
me?
do you want to respond?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think they both have valid points. The first call, Rose's point is okay. Let's move away from history and let's embrace this bold new world. Okay, we can do that. But now here's the other problem with what the other caller brought in is the fact that you can't undo history. That's true. But when you make laws that repeat history in a subtle way, like the representatives in Tennessee that got thrown out, they got reinstated back, but they got thrown out. Well, that right there was a show of learn your place. So when you see stuff like this, so you can't go on until something is corrected. The next thing of it is now would people of color actually trust white people as far as well? I have friends, I have white friends, I have black friends. I mean, do those people of color actually really trust you? Because when you look at it, that trickery has been played out time and again in recent history. You see what I'm saying? So now you have a trust issue. I wouldn't trust a white guy talking about he's my friend, and I know damn well no, you got some kind of trick up your sleeve, for the simple fact that well, you just kind of have always went that way. You see what I'm saying? So until you can establish that trust thing, then I don't think you go. I think you're going to be right here having the same conversation 50 years from now. Because, like you were saying, the teacher that stood up and said that, did she explain anything about that word and where the word comes from? Probably not, because in her mind, it was more like bow down, learn your place. And being a musician and a composer, I have ran into that a lot in my career, and especially with the radio station. You know, his so much of the fact that, yeah, you might want to move on, but you can't just whitewash everything and oh, just forget about it. It's okay, because the first time you get in a crunch, you're going to result back to what you were taught. An animal does not leave its teachings
I did
as it
not
goes
say
forward.
forget about history. I never said forget about history. I even said that right at the start. You can't forget about history. And I'm not saying that at all. You have to, yes, history's good, but you've got to somewhere learn from that. You can't keep harping back to, oh, well, that's history. Oh, we're never going to move from there. That's why
I
you're supposed
understand
to
that.
have history. That's why you're supposed to learn. So don't misconstrue me when I say I don't want to bring history into it, because I do. So,
Well,
and
the
the
thing
other
about
one,
that
don't
is,
misconstrue me, because basically I want to move on. Because if you stay stuck, you're never going to get anywhere. So sorry, I agree with both of you, but both of you are wrong in both your ways as well.
okay,
Okay,
question, how do you
wait,
move on?
Wait, David, hold on.
Uh,
Let me read what Angel over on YouTube is saying. This is directed towards Rose. If this country doesn't fix the issues, we can't move on because you're not affected. You don't care. You are
Well,
able
how
to
are you
reap.
fixing the
Oh,
issues then? You tell me how you're
hold
going
on.
to fix the
Let me,
issues
Rose.
then.
Let me finish reading.
Go on.
I did not interrupt you. So hold
No,
on.
no, sorry.
Okay.
Go on.
Because you're not affected, you don't care. You are able to reap the rewards of our stolen ancestors, and you say move on. You're the problem. So Rose, I will come back to you so you can respond to Angel. But David, what are you gonna say?
well, no, I wanted to ask Rose, how do you move on when certain aspects of history keeps coming to the forefront?
Well, then, what do you do about it then? You seem to know what you're supposed, you can't keep saying, oh, well, we'll do nothing about it then if it just keeps coming up. You can keep doing that all the time. So, has anybody got any answers on here, what you're supposed to do about it?
Now, see, that's where I
Okay,
think I think what Planner was saying, and what Grid is even saying, and what Fair Use is saying, that you have to acknowledge it, and what Angel is saying, you have to acknowledge that it happened, and that's the problem. White people don't want to
Acknowledged
acknowledge.
it's happened. That's the point.
But
Everyone has acknowledged it's happened. We're
when
not
you're
saying it's
Rose,
acknowledged it.
when you're taking it out of history books like they're doing here, that's not acknowledging.
You're
That's
saying it's
erasing
not
it.
acknowledged. It's not happened.
It's
You
erasing
know,
history.
I'm not erasing history. I'm saying it's happened. I'm not erasing history. I'm trying to tell people it's happened, but you're not moving on from what has happened.
Because
Now, none
history
of you
keeps
have come up to
because
tell me
history
what you're
keeps
supposed to
repeating
do
itself.
different.
It keeps repeating itself, Rose. It
Oh,
keeps.
well, why aren't you then doing something about it, America? Because it's not as bad in bloody Britain as it is in America then.
I would
You know what? Why is the problem? You keep bringing it up.
I would disagree with you because England has a lot of problems. So maybe you just don't see it, but England has a lot of problems, and I know people that live over there. And I'm telling you, and I've had friends that I'll be traveling there pretty soon, and they're yeah. Okay. But hold on, let me go to Planner because she hasn't had
Well,
Rose.
oh.
I will come back to you. Planner. So I'm muting everyone except
Oh,
Planner. Go ahead.
oh no, everything I said still stands. The thing is that the history made the systems, and the systems are still in place, and they are in place in blatant ways, and they are in place in insidious ways, and depending on the ebbs and flows of um, kind of political wills, sometimes they're very visible and sometimes they're more hidden. And they're still all here. They're still all here. And to say that Britain doesn't have that is, oh my gosh, uh, absolutely a horrific statement. But yeah, I still stand by everything I said.
Okay. I want to go to Frankie. She has been waiting. And for those of you who do not know Frankie, she has been a supporter of my show for since she started coming on. And Frankie is mute. She lost her voice. She asked me to tell her story, so I will tell her story. Frankie is, can I say your age? You usually let me say your age. Frankie is, I think, 54. She lives in the Bay Area, which is around Oakland and San Francisco. She is originally from the South. She lost her voice when she was 10 years old because she was defending two people of color, Black children, and we'll get back to that word, David. I have not forgotten that you said you don't like the word Black. She was defending two of her classmates on the playground by a racist white student, same age. They were all 10 years old. And they got into an altercation and they were arguing. And the little boy got so mad at Frankie that he hit her. And when he threw his punch, it hit her in her throat. And she was out of school for a while, but the result of that, she lost her voice. Frankie is white. Since then, she says that one of the things that her parents are still living, also living in the Bay Area. She lives with her parents. One thing that her father has always regretted was the fact that he was not there to protect his daughter. Now, I think Frankie wanted me to tell that story mainly because I'm assuming, Frankie, you'll have to put in the chat from the back and forth between our panel. But, you know, I've always said that when it came to white people, there are very few of them who will cross that Edmund Pettus Bridge. And if you know your history, you know what Edmund Pettus Bridge is. It's the one that John Lewis went across, where he was basically got a concussion way back when. And I see what Frankie did was crossing that Edmund Pettus Bridge. She lost her voice because she was standing up for two Black children on a playground who was being teased and harassed by another white student. So that is Frankie's story. So, David?
This is a conversation that is going to definitely require a lot of calm, cool, collected logic. And by that, what I mean is, now with the caller saying, basically move on, I agree with her. But you can't move on until you solve the problem. It's like an algebra equation. And if for everybody that have taken algebra know that you have to have both sides of the equation equal in order to get the right answer. Now, what Texas is doing, basically, the first thing they tried some years ago was try to remove the word slave out of the classroom books. That right there would be a historical revision. and historical revisions is usually a historical lie. So it basically boils down to them trying to save face and saying, "Stay in your place." It's the same thing when Roe v. Wade was overturned, and the reason I include that is because, well, what's the reason for that? Are you telling these women that you know better about their own bodies and what they want to do? No. When you put more research into it, those those white Republicans that's looking at white women having brown babies, and white males are not reproducing the way they used to. So if you can basically get this law changed, then maybe you can repopulate your species. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen like that, because I don't think the algebra equation that they're looking at is okay. If these white women are having brown babies, and these brown women are having brown babies, then you're going to have more brown people. You see what I'm saying? So it's almost as if it's something in reverse, trying to save a species when I think a species is marked for extinction. And and the reason I say that is because I don't think, well, when you look at the evolution of mankind itself, we have evolved over the eons to where we are now. And if we keep evolving and keep mixing, then we will become a new species. One good example would be Trinidad, when you have African ancestry and African blood mixed with East Indian ancestry and blood. Now you're creating a new species. And these are beautiful people now, but now they inherit both continents, the continent of India and the continent of Africa. So I think that in the grand scheme of it all, I think that we're supposed to be a new species, because when you look at myself, you have Ananawangia blood and you also have Nigerian blood. That in itself is a new species. So I think basically when you come to all of the racism, it's just the old trying to hold on to what makes them comfortable and feel comfortable. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go to Angel. She says, I'm just going to read what she says. She's one of those. I have black friends. She has a lot of hate in her heart towards people of color. You can hear in her voice, Rose, you are the problem. Um,
Wow.
I'm going to let Rose respond to that, David. I'm going to put you on mute. Uh-oh. There you go, Rose. You want to respond?
Right, okay. Who are you talking to?
She was
Go on
talking.
then.
She was referring to you.
Who was talking? She was talking. Well, she was talking that I've got hate in my heart, which I haven't. But carry on.
Okay. All right. I am going to try this again to play this video, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to hear it on Podbean. So hold on, give me a moment. I'm gonna see if I can adjust something. Oh, hold on there. Give me a moment. See if this is gonna work. Oh no, this is not gonna work. It's knocking Podbean off. Okay. I really want to show this video. Hold on, let me see if I can try something else. Let me go to my soundboard here. Okay. Let's see if I can just pull the audio. No, this is not letting me do this. No. Okay. Not letting me do it. You see, Angel says, love how she says move on, but no solution. We have tons of solutions to these problems. And we do. We have a lot of solutions to these problems, guys. We have a lot of solutions. And again, I just say it's disheartening. And welcome to TQ, Bro, Jelly and Grit, an official verbal welcome. We have an official, I'm sorry, we do have solutions to this, to these problems. And Rose has just left the panel. That's fine. Rose says, if that were true, racism would not be systemic. Planner says, I am curious, would Rose permanently trade places with a Black person? That's interesting. Rose, if you'd like to come back up and answer that question. Rose says, it's just not the old holding on to racism, it's the system itself. You know, that's one question that I've always asked. That's one question that I've always asked when I get into conversations like this, is I always ask people, would you want to be Black? I also ask it to Asians, and I also ask it to Latinos. Would you want to be Black? And there's usually a pause, because I know the answer is no. I know the answer is no, and I'm not, and you know, and that's what you want to say. That's what you want to say. So, Planner,
Are you asking me that question?
No, I'm just giving you the mic.
I just always found that a pretty powerful thing, because, you know, that does, if people say no, then that means they know that there's a problem, right? I mean, I would be terrified to change places, because I can see all of it. Yeah. I honestly believe that the only way to fix this is to be actively working to tear it down. Actively.
Okay. And Ace, welcome. She's joined the show, and she says, I am biracial. If I could have chosen, she did not finish her sentence, but do you ask a biracial person to choose? I mean, I don't think that's fair. And Ace says, to actively tear it down, it starts with the system being destroyed from the core. How do you destroy that system from the core? You know, I mean, for me, one of my solutions, like I said, is the boycott that I have been actively promoting. I have talked to a lot of people, a lot of influential people. And that's my goal, to have an economic boycott across this entire country. Don't spend money where people do not respect you first. And to all my Black brothers and sisters who go around with your Gucci's and your Louis Vuittons and all that other stuff, those same stores, if you were to come here to California and go to Beverly Hills, they would not even let you in the store. They don't want you there, because we're all supposed to be thieves. But yet we run and we buy this crap. Doesn't make sense to me. A says, racism is baked into the cake. This country is built upon it and thrives on it. And what kills me is when someone of color pretends like it doesn't exist and pushes it under the rug with excuses. I agree with you there too. Because David, like you said, we need to fix our own house first. But why is our own house broken? Why do we have the Tim Scotts and the Candace Owens, who, once they've been used, they'll be thrown away, just like Herschel Walker? You hear about Herschel Walker anymore? Are they talking about Herschel Walker? He's of no use to them anymore. He's gone. And Planner says to topple the power structure. And for me, the way to topple the power structure is with money, because that's one thing that this country understands first and foremost is money. You start messing with their money, then they start to think twice. Go back to Montgomery in 1955. 75% of the ridership was Black. They stopped riding. 381 days those people walked and put up with abuse and beatings and threats of lynchings, and some people's houses were bombed. People who were organizers. Go back to 1963, the Woolworth sit-ins, where those people sat there and got burned with cigarettes and beaten. This including women. But they kept going back. They kept sitting at those same lunch counters. You want us to come to Woolworths and spend our money, but we got to come through the side door. So what they say? We're not going to go to Woolworths anymore. What happened to that store what happened to that store that they were boycotting? It almost went bankrupt. What happened? They start letting us through the front door, and they start letting us sit at the lunch counter. 1985, Dearborn, Michigan. You had a family who just wanted to have a barbecue in a Dearborn, Michigan park. And see, back in 1985, Dearborn was mostly white. It was, in fact, it was all white. Black people just went there to shop and to work. This white family got so upset. How dare you come here? You don't live here. You don't belong here. That same white family was right down there at City Hall the very next day on a Monday, complaining. We need to have an emergency meeting. The only people who should be allowed in these parks should be people who live here, who are citizens. They passed a law. Unless you are a citizen of Dearborn, Michigan, you cannot use the park facilities. What did Black people say? Okay, you don't want us to use your parks? We won't come shop there. Dearborn Mall was one of the biggest malls in the state. Guess what? It was shut down. You need our money. And when all that happened, guess what? Black people were allowed to have barbecues and use the parks. The only thing for me, and the way I see it, the only thing this country sees and understands is money, first and foremost. You know, so my thing, and it has always been, one reason why Black Wall Streets were so successful is the fact that they kept their money to themselves. They had their own banks. They had their own movie theaters. They didn't have to leave their community. And basically they were saying, leave us alone. We are fine over here by ourselves. But when you have people across the road, across the tracks who are jealous, it all comes tumbling down. Thank you, Grid. Grid says, "Solid, you are one lady that I would 100% have in my team of battle." Godwin, welcome. You know, so I mean, and again, I know that, you know, on Podbean and on everywhere else, there are many people who have a problem with me and my show. I don't care. I've been called a Black racist. I've been called a Black B. I've been called every Black, what you can think of, mainly by two particular people who claim they don't like my show, but they come in as other people. They come in as the alphabet people. And some of you all know who these people are, but I don't care. I don't care. But what I do know is how much money means to America. What I do know is you take that $1 trillion plus that Black people spend in this country every single year, and if half of it disappeared, this country would suffer. Y'all thought y'all lost jobs during COVID? Let Black people stop spending money. Those Koreans at those Korean stores who sell Black hair care, who you go into those stores and they treat you like crap, but Black people are the foundation of their business? Really? Look at what happened to Paradise Hair in Collingdale, Pennsylvania. A Black hair shop owned by a Black man just wanted to do business. He was 5 blocks away from Hair World. And if anybody is familiar with Hair World, Hair World is across the country, and they are Korean owned. And Koreans sell a lot of Black hair care products. Called the vendor who was supplying Paradise Hair and say, if you continue to supply hair to that Black business, we will stop shopping with you. The vendor called Paradise Hair, showed him the texts and the emails. What happened? Black people in Collingdale to Pennsylvania, they showed up for Paradise Hair, doing a hell of a lot of business. In hair world, they're blaming Black people for making their business go down. How the hell are you going to try to blackball a Black person when you want Black people shopping at your store? Tell me, how does that work? Now, y'all may think I'm on here and I'm preaching hate and all this other stuff. I'm telling facts. I am telling facts. And I don't, and Ace, you're saying, people let their racist flags fly on this platform. It's the protection of an enemy. Yes, people can say that I'm letting my racist flags fly. I'm telling you like I see it. Grid says you guys need to research a Formula One driver called Lewis Hamilton. He has an amazing journey. The only man of color in Florida. I'm sorry, the only man in F1, and what he has achieved in the sports is amazing. And even what Grid said, with all of the inventions in this country, in this world, done by Black people. I mean, seriously, we wouldn't have half of the stuff. Y'all who like to drink and y'all like Jack Daniels, invented by a Black man, stolen by the Daniels family. Bro says, why do we buy chicken from Asians when there are so many fluffy Black women who do chicken well? Guys, I am just, what's the thing in Fontana, that was a trigger for me. And I wish, and I want to play this other one, but I know people on Podbean can't hear it, but Mark Taylor, look him up. Mark Taylor. Look him up. And you want to know why we cannot move on? This is why we cannot move on. Because of people like Mark Taylor who want to go redboning. You want to be with a Black woman. while you're still calling her the N word while you're sleeping with her. And that's the things that female slaves had to go through. So y'all, this freedom train boycott will start slowly. The official jump off is June 1st in Florida and Colorado. It is meant to go across this entire country. It's meant to be long lasting and sustaining. The only thing this country, to me, understands is money. David, I will start with you with your last word, then I will move on to the planner. So, David. Wait, hold on. You are muted, so hold on. Okay, David.
Yeah, I agree with you on the freedom boycott. Just let me know how you planning on promoting it, and I will promote it across my feeds too.
Send me an email to solidbluesister@gmail.com and we can talk.
Okay, great.
And do you have any other? Is that your last word?
I think that it's going to be a very long time before we see the end of it, because you got to remember, it didn't start overnight and it can't end overnight. So I think that's a good way for me to end it.
Okay. Planner?
I just, because you mentioned Herschel Walker, and we were kind of in the comments talking about Candace and adjacency to whiteness. During the election, when Herschel was running, I started thinking about, how do I look at him as a man, as a black man in a horrifically traumatic system, right? And they did say that he suffers from dissociative identity disorder, and it's probably also true that he has CTE, the traumatic encephaly from playing football, which affects how people behave. And I did some research on dissociative identity disorder, and it's often thought to stem from severe childhood trauma. And if he did have childhood trauma and it came from family members, it was probably generational, which, childhood trauma often is. And generational trauma for Black people is almost always traceable to the horrors of being enslaved, living under the Jim Crow laws, and basically the terror, right? And then the whole business of football, it's run by wealthy white capitalists, and these white capitalists, they're no longer allowed to outright enslave people as chattel, but they always find ways to achieve similar outcomes. So, I just really think that men in charge of football exploit Black players, and one of those ways is to use them up, not protect them physically, and then kick the damaged goods to the curb. And they believe they have an endless supply, and it's also a disposable supply. And so, as much as I, didn't like how he was behaving during the campaign and all of that, I just really felt that it was the GOP showing everyone exactly who they are. They're upholders of white supremacy. They used this man as a living example of the damage wrought by that supremacy as a puppet or slave for their power. And it's tragic. It's really tragic. It's egregious, it's inhumane, and that's how the power structure functions. That's how it endures. And it's sociopathic, and it's built into the system. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. All right. Excuse me. Well, guys, that's excuse me. That's the show. I know we can go back and we can this can go on for hours. But I do want to thank David and Planner and Frankie and Rose for coming up on the show, and everyone with their comments. Thank you. Grit, thank you for being one of my cheerleaders. I do appreciate you. You know that I do. But I just want to end with saying that Gil Scott Heron said back in the early 70s that the revolution would not be televised. And it is being televised. It's being televised all over. So, guys, again, I stand by what I say. I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. At least I think that I do. But all I can say for me right now is here in the lesson. And I am going to leave you guys with Gil Scott Heron from what he said, that the revolution will not be televised, but it is. And I'm going to clear the panel while I play the song.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still life of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.
And the revolution is live and it is being televised. Well, everyone, this is my this is Thursday, which is my Friday. I will see you guys back here on Monday. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoy your day or weekend wherever you are in the world. And always remember, go where the wind takes you. Bye.